I found a secret way to improve at chess fast, without getting a coach, without buying super long books, and without making it a boring process. I will show you later how I used to play before implementing this secret, and how I play after using it. Some days ago someone asked me on my DMs how I got a rating of 2100, and it reminded me how just 2.5 years ago, when I was like 1200, I asked the same question to people who were over 2000 rated, and they told me their secrets, and now I will pass them on to you. I had literally tried every single method for improvement. Online training, books, actual coaches that would come to my house, but it was all meh, and nothing fit my style. I needed something more exciting, so that's why I started digging around. This first guy gave me the not so secret but most important thing that you should all be doing. Every single time you lose a game, stop, go back and analyze whatever you did wrong before you start a new game. You might think, nah, I already know what I did wrong, I don't need to see it again. Oh boy, you do need to see it again, for a very simple reason. When you go back and see your mistake, that feels like torture. You think to yourself, how did I play such a disgusting move? I want to throw up. And that's exactly what we're looking for. Now it's harder to forget about it, and you're making absolutely sure you will never play that exact move again. And then I asked a FIDE master rated 2500 what to do to improve. And this man told me what nobody else had ever told me before. He told me to watch the streams and the YouTube videos of Hikaru. And I was like, wait, I already do that. Everyone else does, but I still suck pretty badly. But don't just watch the videos. Try to guess the move that he will play every single time. And I was like, oh, yeah, I don't do that. And that advice changed my life forever. If you just watch the videos, you're just being entertained. But if you force your brain to think like one of the strongest grandmasters in history, well, you will start to see some improvements in your games. I've been doing this for over 2 years, and it is the best warm-up you could possibly imagine. Before I play not only online, but in FIDE rated tournaments over the board. I watched some Hikaru's videos, and now my brain is ready for anything, and I do pretty fucking good. Don't try this with the Bote sisters, for example. Even though they're pretty goddamn good, they do make a lot more mistakes than Hikaru. And if you want to improve 10% of your game, you need to watch someone who plays close to 100% accuracy moves. Now, this is how I used to play back then. I got the white pieces, and I'm rated 1300. I go pawn to d4, and pawn to c4. It's not a queen's gambit, but that's kind of the structure and the ideas that I used to play the most. Pawn to b6 by my opponent, and knight to c3. Bishop to b7, and queen to c2. That's kind of a weird move. You usually go queen to c2 when there's bishop b4 and you defend this knight. But I want to push e4, apparently, so that's why I'm supporting e4 at some point. Pawn to e4 right here, for example. Bishop to b4. Okay, so you're threatening to take the pawn on e4, since this knight is pinned and I can't move. So a couple options here. I could go bishop d3, I could go e5, I think that makes sense the most. Maybe f3 is kind of wild, but it's a possibility. See what happens. Knight to f3, okay, I drop that pawn. Does my opponent see it? Of course he does. Bishop takes e4, and I can't take back because the knight is pinned again. Bishop to d3, oh my god. Okay, so I'm just dropping everything here. Bishop takes e3, okay. Pawn to a5, bishop g5, pinning the knight. Pawn to h6, attacking the bishop, and I drop the bishop back. Pawn to d5, that can be good. c5, I don't hate that move. I like it actually. Pawn takes, queen takes, and now my opponent can't castle. At least I'm finding some ideas. Knight to d7, attacking the queen. Oh wow, bishop b5, pinning the knight so he cannot take my queen. Now my opponent goes rook to b8, attacking the bishop, but not really. The bishop is defended by the queen, so it's not that scary. I could ignore that. I could ignore, maybe go pawn to a4 if I care about it too much, but we could just ignore. Bishop a4, I drop the pawn on b2. Oh my god. This is very ugly. And now I attack the rook, and now my queen is not defending, well, not attacking this diagonal anymore. So now he can't castle unless, nope, I don't bring the queen back. I go f4. Well, this happens for now, but I'm creating weaknesses. I'm creating too many weaknesses, and that's never good. Bishop c2, okay, maybe this idea going on. Maybe this going on. We'll see. Queen to d3, no. Queen to d3, no. All right, so I'm threatening checkmate in 1. My opponent, of course, finds that. What? What? f5, that is the... What is the point of this move? This diagonal is already open. What am I trying to do with f5? He takes it, of course. I take with the bishop, and now my bishop accomplished nothing. Wow, that's sad. Knight to d. Okay, my opponent is just dancing around, but I'm not taking advantage of it. No, the queen should go on d3, not the bishop. Bring the bishop back to c2, and then queen to d3. Man, wow. I was drunk. Rook to c1. Okay, I'm putting pressure somewhere, but this is open because, of course, my brain turned off and I played f5. Queen to e8, that's a check. Knight to e4, attacking the queen. Do I see that? Of course I do. Rook to d1, defending the pawn. This is very, very bad. This is very passive. I'm not doing anything. Queen to g4, getting some pieces off the board. Oh my god. I put the rook on the one wrong square. And I hang my bishop. This is horrible. This is when I was 1300. I was not training in any possible way. I was just playing and watching Hikaru's videos just for entertainment. And as you can tell, the quality of this game is just disgusting. And now this is one of my most recent games after 2 years of training with the secrets I just told you. And by the way, you can't see my opponent's rating. I downloaded some extension a couple of weeks ago to hide the ratings, but he's 2000. And I was tilting very badly those days, so I went down to 1900, but now I'm back to 2050, something like that. And I got the black pieces, and this is the opening structure that I play for absolutely anything unless e4, then I play the Sicilian. But if it's not e4, I play this exact same structure every single time. I don't train openings at all. Openings are a waste of time unless you're going pro. There, it needed to be said, and I said it. Openings are a waste of time, so stop putting so much time and effort for opening tricks and cheap things. That doesn't matter. You need to be focusing on way more important things. My opponent wants to attack me on the king side of the board, so I have to throw an attack on the queen side. He goes g5, attacking the knight. I bring the knight back to d7 and f4. As you can tell, he's just throwing all the pawns down this way to scare me off, but that doesn't really matter. I go b5 because I also have pieces and I can also attack. Now my opponent goes pawn to h4. He's just throwing all the pawns, not developing any piece. So now I go knight to b6. Very nice move, because my plan is to go pawn to b4. Because if I go pawn to b4 now, he has knight to a4 and the knight is very comfortable out there. But if I go knight to b6 first, my opponent develops the bishop. Now I go pawn to b4. If the knight goes to a4, now I can take it, doubling these pawns, and then I can bring the queen to take that pawn. So now my opponent has to bring the knight all the way down to b1, and that is a very ugly move, as you can tell, because the knight cannot jump forward because of this pawn. And now he takes the pawn on g7, but that's really nothing to be scared of. You just move the rook, attacking the bishop. They have to waste another tempo. Listen, if you don't push this pawn and you care too much about this pawn on g7, you're gonna lose the game. You are worrying about things that don't matter. A pawn is not gonna win the game. A checkmate wins the game. So if you castle in this position to protect the pawn, you're walking straight into his plan. Let him take the pawn. It's okay. You attack the bishop, it goes back, and now you continue with your attack. And now he goes queen to h5, attacking the pawn on h7, and that's fine. You can have it. I'm going to checkmate your king while you're just distracted taking my pawns. So I go pawn takes b3 first. He takes on b3, and now I go pawn to c4. I want to open things even more. My opponent simply takes the pawn on h7, and now he's actually attacking my rook, which comes with a check, so I move my rook first. And now I'm expecting bishop to g7, attacking the rook even more, and that would be lovely for me, giving me this move for free. But he goes pawn to g6, and he's maybe threatening g7, which is kind of annoying, so I take the pawn first. Queen takes g6, that's a check. I move the king, and now he goes bishop to h3, putting a lot of pressure on the pawn on e6. And there's a couple of ways to defend it. I could go rook to f6, that is dropping my rook. I could move the king forward, enabling this bishop. I could move the king this way also, but that blocks the queen. That's kind of ugly. So you know what? What if I keep doing what I have been doing this whole time? Be aggressive. Pawn takes b3, you can have it. You can have the pawn on e6, and he takes it with the queen. You know why? Because now I moved my king, and you cannot take the pawn on b3 because your queen is hanging. You have to do something about that first. And once you move the queen, before doing anything, I took the bishop on h3 because it was kind of annoying. Knight takes h3, and now, do we take the pawn on c2? No, let's keep destroying this guy. Pawn to d4. And now he goes c3, creating a lot of weaknesses around the king, which is exactly what we want. So now I slide the queen forward, trying to get in and deliver checkmate. But my opponent goes knight to g5, stopping this idea, also threatening knight to e6 with a fork to the rook. But now I see a tactic. Rook to a2. You can have my rook. Oh no, my rook! He takes it. I don't care about that rook. I care about checkmating your king. And now I simply take your bishop, and I'm threatening checkmate in one move. So you kind of have to take the rook. King takes. Knight to a4 check. You cannot take this pawn because of the queen. You have to move back to one of these two squares. If you go to a1, that's checkmate in 1. If you go to c1, it's not checkmate in 1. Check. Mate. Before, I used to be so afraid and passive the whole time, which would of course keep me at the 1200 and 1300 level. But after trying to think like a super grandmaster for so long, you don't want to keep defending. You want to start attacking, and your rating will just skyrocket before you even notice it. So if you want to keep improving, you better subscribe.